It's good then that they often retest, because when, like in Victoria, you only have a few dozen, but very worrying cases out of maybe 10 million people getting around, you really don't want that margin for error being able to easily account for that amount. Then there might be no sane reason at all to lock people in their houses and potentially ruin millions of lives. You might even be forced to overlook that data on suicides and depression and dying from all other causes, or just pretend that it's not in yet. What is it I hear all the time? We acknowledge that it's tough, but health comes first. I'm sure it's every politician's wet dream to play the wartime hero, and it's scientifically and historically proven to make them more popular with the scared rabbit majority, facing down that next lurking threat. And they're a whole lot more stimulated and better paid than the rest of us. But, it sure makes me feel better that they understand. Like how they think any problem can be solved just by running an ad campaign. So convenient for governance. And I get it too. Masks being not the thing, because we didn't have any, then suddenly being absolutely essential. And it's right to beat up anyone who doesn't have one. I mean, they deserve it, regardless of all the other science. I mean, how dare they be so selfish to put the rest of us at risk when it's just so simple to cook away behind that stinky thing. No greater implications at all to possibly spending the rest of our lives in dehumanizing, distancing, post-apocalyptic couture. Now, I sometimes say social distancing was already in effect in Australia before the pandemic. So I'm pretty used to never talking to anyone or meeting anyone or anyone even looking my way. I just feel great inside that I'm doing my bit. Talking of science, since the beginning, there's been established science that adequate vitamin D levels will slash your chance of COVID along with any respiratory illness getting serious or causing death by a factor of about 3. 1,000 to 5,000 units a day costs a few cents, or in the sun, an hour on a park bench. It's rock hard science, hundreds of studies on something so uncontroversially powerful they could not study it and still even pretend to be genuine, despite it being a cheap and humble nutrient. Scientists know it, including our all-powerful chief medical officers. Doctors know it, but somehow the inmates of our matrix prison world, somehow less so. Why? Because nobody's telling them. But it can take time to build up in the system, so maybe instead of locking everyone up and scaring the living daylights out of them, you think the news would be repeating that daily. But no. Along with all the other 100 things better for our immunity than stress and fear, I haven't heard it once. Why? Because it's cheap, and so of no benefit to the pharmaceutical industry's agenda. The largest lobby in the world, which could not give a toss if anyone lives or dies. Hundreds of independent doctors have come out to say such things, and what's happened? They've been banned as conspiracy nuts from being seen or heard at all. No, not even slightly fishy. And those medicines like hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin with over 90% success rate that have been safe for 60 years, not even slightly fishy either that they quashed the main one with a bogus meta-study in the most prestigious medical journal in the world. Somehow the politicized media didn't notice that it had to be retracted for this reason, and the smear kind of stood, possibly costing a huge proportion of all the lives lost. It's like we're living in a separate timeline or something, the Twilight Zone, where the orange conman is occasionally right.